I am really looking forward to hearing tonight's speaker. The only thing I know about him is that he's been sober about 5 years and he's a deadhead. That's all I know. And I am very, very anxious to get to know you. Carl.
Hey everybody, I'm Carl. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey Carl.
I'll just do the prerequisites first. 32 years old. My sobriety date is January 30th, 2019. I have a sponsor who has a sponsor. I'm available to sponsor other men, and my home group is the 545 How It Works meeting here. So yeah, I'll kind of just get. I will. There's like a little disclaimer. There's there's a lot of drugs in my story, but my sponsor tells me that I should respect the house I'm in, so I'm gonna try my best to not talk about drugs as much as possible. But I will say, like, for anyone, while I do struggle with, alcohol is a big part of my story. For anyone out there that is new and feels like they can't talk to anybody about stuff like that. I'm a intravenous opiate addict, so I know there's a lot of people that struggle with that stuff. And if you feel like you can't talk to nobody, I'm one of those guys. So other than that, I was born in Eastern Kentucky, and let's see, my dad. My dad did not like to drink, but he was very into everything else. And my mom wasn't much of a drinker either, but she also liked to party. And when I was a kid, there was always a party going on at my house. My dad he was a little old. My parents were like older when I was born. I was born. My dad was 40, so he is. As I understand it, I think he was forced to retire from the post office, and so he stayed home with me and my sister. And there was always somebody over there, and always something going on. And while my mom worked, and then my mom would get home from work and join the party pretty much. So actually, this is kind of a funny story. Technically my first drink, and this was I went back home to Kentucky and spoke with. I went to a meeting with one of my dad's friends' wives who's sober now, and she told this story in the meeting when I went there. My first drink, I was like, my mom said she had got home from work, and I was like, said I had like just started walking and was like saying words and stuff, which is like funny for me to think about now because it's like my daughter's age right now. It's like she's 18 months old, and like that's what she's doing. Like she's walking and saying words. And I guess my dad and all his friends were partying, and one of my dad's friends, he always drank. He drank screwdrivers. They said that his name was Jerry, but I thought his name was Juice because I'd always walk up to him and ask for some of his juice. And so I would go up, and he was giving me some of his juice, and then his other friend was drinking beer, and I'd go up to him and drink some of his beer, and I guess they gave me too much. My mom gets home from work, and I'm like sick, throwing up on the floor. My mom's like flipping out, and so I mean I was probably like pretty drunk, and it's kind of funny to think about because I get like, I guess a young kid probably don't like the taste of alcohol, but I kept going back for it. So, and my mom she said, I knew you were going to be an alcoholic when you were a kid because every time I gave you something to drink, you like just drank it all. You sat there and drank it all. So anyway, that's kind of, I don't know. There was like, everybody like they weren't like putting the drugs and all that stuff out there, but there was like pretty open use of substances all around me when I was growing up. My dad grew pot, and I used to help him do that. We had a big garden, and like I really like wasn't no different for me than like a green bean or a corn or and then you did different things to the to the pot plants, and I helped him when I was real little, and he got he got busted when I was 13 years old, and the police showed up, and I was in the shed with him, with like I think we had 10 plants in there that it was like harvest season. We were hanging them up to dry, and um, so I mean, the cops didn't arrest me, but like technically, I was guilty as hell, uh, standing there with him. Um, so anyway, that's kind of like I grew up around a lot of alcoholics, and I can't really remember growing up around anybody that wasn't like, most of them were alcoholics, and a lot of them have died from alcoholism, and but at least like heavy drinkers. Like it's all I remember. So like the idea that when I came in here that I can't ever drink, that I'm live a life in abstinence was like I didn't think anybody did that. So anyway, like kind of stretching forward, I like really like of my own accord started using when I was about 15 years old, and it started. I was on the soccer team, and I was a freshman, and the seniors invited me to this party, and they had alcohol and pot, and they got me to smoke some and pushed me in the pool, and it was a good time. Everybody was having fun, and I don't know, like it wasn't like an I had arrived moment, but like I enjoyed what had happened, and and I went home, and I told my dad like what I'd been doing, and he didn't say anything. He said, "Well, don't tell your mom." But but if you want to do it here, you can do it here. I've always any so like pretty quickly, like my sister was like a grade below me, and I mean we were in high school. I mean I was a freshman in high school, and on through high school me and my mom found out pretty soon. We all smoked pot together in my house or in their house. I mean uh, it wasn't frowned upon. Like it was okay. We didn't have to. It was fine. All my friends could come over and do it with us. And I don't know, man. That's just thinking back on it. It was a little dysfunctional, but that's how I grew up. So, uh, and then pretty pretty soon after that, my I don't know, man. I've thought back on it. Like I think I don't know. I don't know if he was trying to be cool, or he was sick in his own way. Like my dad was sick in his own. And I'm not trying to blame my alcoholism on my father, but it's kind of how I got into it. And I think like by the time he realized that he had made a mistake, it was too late, kind of, or something. But he brought me over to one of his friends' houses, who was a commodities broker in dry goods, and I got started doing that stuff. And this guy, his brother was the sheriff, so he never really got in trouble with anything. But he was quadriplegic. He was paralyzed from the neck down, and but he was plugged in. But somebody had to be there all the time to actually do all the stuff, like, because he couldn't use his hands. He drove his wheelchair around with his chin. Um, so, and like people stole from him all the time, and I was 15, 16 years old. So like, why don't you help me do this, and I'll give you a little money and this and that. So I started going over there after school every day, and it was like I bagged things up and served people when they came in, and accepted the money and put it away. And then at the end of the day, it's like all the anything I wanted while I was there. And then I got a couple $100 at the end of the day, and that was like more money than a 16-year-old kid could make working a regular job. And like, why the fuck do I want to get a job? Come over here and party all day. There's there were young women. They were older than me, but they were good looking, and they hung around, and they liked me because I had what they wanted. So I was like, this is it, man. This is I had it figured out, I thought. And then being at a high, most high school kids have a little trouble acquiring stuff like that, and it's like, well, I'm just gonna go over here and get it right now. And so I got into the dealing side of it, and I pretty much did that like all through high school, and I never really ran into like a whole lot of trouble. I got a DUI when I was 17, but the district attorney that prosecuted my case was a regular at the house that I stayed at, and my toxicology reports were lost in the mail, and it was thrown out. So that was like, it's like a nut. Like, I'm a young guy, I just think like it's like I didn't. There's no consequences then, man. And so I move on. I moved on. I got a scholarship to go to the University of Kentucky. I scored pretty well on my ACT, and it enabled me to get a scholarship. And I was accepted at the University of Kentucky, so I moved there, and I was still doing what I was doing. And it kind of like I got to where I was doing it on a bigger scale. Like, I met another person, and I could go back to where I was from, and I was like 18, 19 years old, and that's like the most, even today, like it's the most money I've ever made in my life, like on a salary. Like, I'll probably never. It was like probably six figures a year that I would make. And my habit, like I didn't realize like what a regular salary was, so my habit is like I'm spending like probably $200-300 a day on what I was doing, and I've been physically dependent ever since I was 16 years old. Like, before I went to school, I had to do something, and then by the time I finished school, it was time to do it again, and anyway, so I did that I finished 1 year of college. I didn't do too well in college, but I was like passing, and my house got raided, and I had sold a pound of marijuana to an informant, and then my house got raided, and I had 4 more pounds in the house. I was actually like pretty lucky because I was like about to walk out the door to go to the guy's house, and they kicked the door anyway. So I was charged with trafficking, controlled substance, arrested, threw me in the jail, and I would go to court for the next year over that stuff. And I, like then, like the money wasn't coming in anymore, and I realized, like, man, how am I going to pay for all this? I had some money stashed away at my mom's house. It was like $40,000. And I blew through that in, like, it was like 2 months. And so I was like, so this is where like alcohol kind of starts taking a big part of my story. Cause I drank, but like, it wasn't like what got me there. And I was like, well, maybe I'll pick up this alcohol. And I started drinking, and I was like, I was drinking one day, and like I like caught a nod, like, and it like real like hit me. I was like, man, I can get there with alcohol too. Like, maybe alcohol is the answer to this problem. And so I started drinking every day. I was 20, and still going to court, and I pretty quickly became, I was dependent on that, drinking. I drank in the morning. I don't know, man. Any substance, there was never really any kind of honeymoon phase for me. I just always was I want to do this all the time, all day, every day. Um, Whenever I'm awake, I want to have something in me to change the way that I feel. And so I got, I got sentenced for the trafficking case. I got sentenced to 2 years, and they ordered me to serve 6 months. So I was 20. I went to jail. I served my 6 months. I actually got released on my 21st birthday. Um, and then then I could buy alcohol legally when I got released. So that was the first thing that I did. And I pretty much just picked right up where I left off. I dried out in the jail a little bit, and it was kind of rough. And I had gone through withdrawals a few times, but I just always went right back to it. And so things kind of continued. They just kind of continued that way for the next 2 years. I started, but I couldn't stay off the other stuff for very long, and I met this girl, and she was into the opiates also, so we got fell in love, and we moved in together, and we were both we were both drinking and getting high pretty as much as we could, and it kept on like that. It didn't work out with her. We drank and got high and argued all the time. That's what we did. That was our thing. It was wonderful. Anyway, so another big point. When I was 23, my dad got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and that was I don't know. It was a big. I don't know. It didn't hit me at first, but it was fine. It was Dad's gonna die. He's not. He got 6 months to live. So at the time I was delivering pizza. It was funny. I delivered I worked 5 p.m. to 4 a.m. delivering pizza, just drunk, just really drinking the whole way. I would have I would have my 5th bottle, but I'd pour it into a 20-ounce bottle, and I'd keep it in my jacket. And I got pulled over several times for speeding, and I drank bourbon is what I like to drink. I mean cheap, it's not really bourbon. It's cheap Kentucky whiskey, $9 for a bottle. Benchmark, McAfee's Benchmark, old number 8. And I got pulled. I don't know if it was the pizza topper, or if the cop was this guy's delivering pizza. There's no way he's drunk. But I never, they never breathalyzed me or anything else. I don't know how. I had to smell terrible. I was drinking, I would go to Rite Aid at usually 10 p.m. every night and buy another 5th bottle, fill up, finish working, wake up, and by 10 p.m. the next night I'd finish that 5th bottle and go buy another one. And I mean, it was, I would shake when I woke up in the morning. I couldn't eat. I had to have alcohol in my system. And then, like I said, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to drive a car if I wasn't drunk, which is, but that's what, anyway, so my dad is sick. So I quit my job to go take care of my dad. My parents had divorced. when I was 17, uh, Dad was just kind of doing his thing, and anyway, so I got, and I went to take care of my dad, and like I wish that I could tell you that it was like noble, and partially it was like I did take care of my dad. Like he couldn't. It got to where he couldn't walk. I had to carry him to the bathroom. He would wake up at night and he like not scared, not know. He'd try to get out of bed and he'd fall down. But part of the reason I went down there is because I knew Dad was getting a lot of pain medicine. And when you're like terminally ill, they just fill it. They just fill the medicine. And he would he would break me off some, but like at the same time, like I would also like go back later and steal. I would take, so that's, I stole my dying father's pain medicine, and so that's, it's like something that, a normal person don't do that, and I really like at the time I didn't see anything wrong with it. Like, well, whatever. They're just gonna fill it up anyway. And then, so, that went on. They gave him 6 months. He made it 5 months. And, like, one thing, that he didn't want to go to hospice. He wanted to die at the house. But, like, eventually, he couldn't control his bowels or anything. We finally, like, had to put him, like, my mom was like, you have to put him in the hospital. And we put him in the hospital, and it was 7 days later, and he passed away. So he he wanted to stay at the house, and he got to stay at the house for a long time. And I'm strung out. And when he passed away, I got a check for from his retirement. I got $48,000. By the way, I'm still on probation for the trafficking charge because I got more time on the shelf. And I like for what they didn't back then. I don't know if they've changed it now, but I would go to the probation office drunk, and they didn't give me an ETG test. They didn't test my urine for alcohol. So I would clean the drugs out, and I passed for they finally put me on non-report. I did the thing for like 6 months, and he's like, okay, you're good. You don't have to report anymore. And I transferred my probation. I was trying to do the right thing. Lived in Fayette County, so I transferred my probation to Round County where my dad was, and I was like, I'm on non-report. And so I was still going to the probation office, but I got that check from my dad for $48,000, and I my dad had just died. I was upset anyway, and I got a big check for a bunch of money, and I went nuts, drinking and using, and I like they called me into the probation office, and I didn't think they were going to drug test me, and I went in, and they drug tested me, and I couldn't run, like I was like, and so they said, okay, well, you can go see a counselor. We're not going to lock you up this time, and you come back and pee again in a month, and blah blah blah, and a month came, and I knew that I couldn't pass, and so I just I absconded, and it was getting worse and worse and worse, and like it got to, like I'd switched to like 100 proof vodka from the whiskey, and just so it was just stronger. And I really didn't leave the house a whole lot. Like I would just lay in the bed, and every time I'd wake up, I would down like 3 or 4 shots, and so I could go back to sleep and do my other stuff, and I just kind of stayed like that. And I like wanted to. I like realized that I kind of had to do something. I'd heard about like detox, so I went to turn myself into the detox, and but for what I don't know why I did this, but I called my probation officer before, and I told him that I was like, yeah, I know I fucked up. I'm gonna turn myself into detox, and they said okay, and they met me at the hospital and arrested me. I should have waited. They can't arrest you if you've been admitted to the hospital. I should have waited till I was admitted. In hindsight, but I don't know. I guess it was for the best. But yeah, they took me to jail, and I mean I cold turkeyed off. You know, I was drinking at least a fifth of liquor a day by then, and I was injecting about at least 700 milligrams of oxycodone every day for like the past couple months. I've been doing that. I'd always been on a lot, but that was like, I mean, it was a lot. There was some days it was like 30s, 900 milligrams. Um, and this is like a little like podunk jail, and they should have taken me to the hospital, but they didn't. I went to see the nurse. Like they left me in. They took me out of the detox cell, put me in a cell by myself because I was losing it, man. I was hearing things and I was seeing things, and the nurse came in and he said, "All right, put your hands up against mine and push as hard as you can." And he let go, and I mean, I was like, and he said, "Okay, well maybe." He called the doctor and he's like, "Well, maybe I think we have an exception to the rule here." And I was like, "Oh, so this dude's gonna give me something, man. Thank God." He said, "Yeah, we're gonna, we usually don't give anyone any medicine, Mr. Duvall, but we're gonna start you on 25 milligrams of Vistaril a day, which is it's Benadryl, is what it is." It didn't do shit. And they let me in there for. It was the hole is where I was. They let me in there for 7 days, and I was having like out of body hallucinations. Like I could see myself, and like I thought that people were trying to get me, and I could hear the guards like beating people outside, and like none of this was happening. This wasn't happening. It was a hallucination. I thought that people were trying to get me. They were trying to break me out of the jail to get me somewhere safe. I'm watching and I mean, finally, like after like the seventh day, like I just kind of snapped out of it and like came back, and it was like I didn't sleep for like another 6 days probably. Anyway, so I had to finish out my time on that one. I stayed there another year. They transferred me to the other jail, and I had to do I think y'all call it RSAT down here. It's SAP in Kentucky is what they call it. It's a 6-month program. So I was in rehab in the jail for 6 months before they let me out. And they finally let me out, and the day they let me out, I drank again. I told myself the whole time I was there, I can't. This is crazy. I'm not that was fucked up. I can't drink like that no more. And the day they let me out, I started drinking again. And 3 days after that, I was back on the other stuff, and I had to do 8 more months on an ankle monitor. I couldn't leave my house, but I could walk to the liquor store and it wouldn't set off the. It would say I was still at the house. It was like God was like torturing me or something. You know what I mean? Like it's like a sick joke. Like you can't. You're on house arrest. You're not supposed to be able to drink, but this liquor store you can make it there. It's like I don't know. Give you enough rope to hang yourself with or something. And I would go through this period for the next year of where I would drink, I would get myself all messed up, and then I would dry myself out. And then as soon as I could eat food again, I was like, well, maybe I'll just get one of them 25-ounce beers, I'll just have one of them. That'll be fine. And then, I'm drunk again. And finally, like I was living in my mom's house, and my mom was finally like, my mom charged me $200 a month rent. She's like, you got to pay something if you're living here. And she knew I had a job, and she knew that when my check hit, that the money was going to be gone the next day. So she would go and take the money out of my account before I would wake up, so she could get her rent money, and then the rest of it's gone. That it's sick, man. If she's like, look, you gotta go somewhere. You can't lay around here like I come in there's beer cans all over the floor. There's and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna get help. And finally, I woke up one morning and I was I would shoplift from Kroger. They sold beer. They sell beer in Kroger down here, don't they? Yeah, they did it in Kentucky too. And I would shoplift beer. There's a big beer cave, and I would just stick them in my pockets and walk out. And I would do that 5 times a day. I want to just get 5 more, and I'll be good. You know, just the 4th time today. It's not, and it was 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd already been to Kroger twice. I'd done the rest of the other stuff, and I was out, and I felt like shit. And I was like, man, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I got the whole day to go. And so I was like, I was like, Mom, I need some help, man. I need to go somewhere. And she said, okay. And she took me to a detox, and they medically detoxed me, and I got on the phone with some people. My mom knew a doctor that had went to MAR, which is down here in Atlanta, and you need to go to this place, and I did. I went. I agreed to go, and I really, I had wanted to quit drinking for a long time, and I knew that I was an alcoholic, and I knew that I wasn't getting anywhere, but I just couldn't. I didn't want to have to stop drinking to do it. I wanted to be sober, but I wanted to drink, and I remember the first day I got here, one of the counselors was like, do you want to get sober? And and it's the most honest thing I'd said in years. I said, man, I really want to get sober. And, it was true. No, I don't, but I want to. But I don't know any other way. This is the way I've been living the way everyone I know has been living for a long time. But I stayed in the place, and I've been there 30 days, and they're like, you're supposed to have a sponsor by now. I'm like, what do you mean? I don't know. It was I got here in May in Atlanta, and I was wearing a sweatshirt because I was shit cold for 60 days. It was 85 degrees outside. I got a sweatshirt. My brain was just fried. So, okay, well, I guess I'll get a sponsor. And I talked to this guy, and I'd been around in that SAT program. I'd read the book and stuff like that. And there's a couple other treatment centers that I had gone to, that I didn't mention, and stuff that was court ordered. And so I kind of knew the general idea, and I could relate to the book, but I never done anything with a sponsor, actually worked the steps, and so I started doing it. I didn't think it was gonna work, but just the more I just kind of tried to open up and be honest about my alcoholism and the things that I had done, and that it just that it was my solution, but it just wasn't really a solution to anything. It was a solution to getting thrown in jail in the hospital is what it was a solution to. That's what it did, and things started happening for me, and I liked going to meetings, and I liked talking to people, and it was the first time that I met people that were like me, that weren't using or drinking, and that was just I'd been around a lot of people that told me how to get sober, and they weren't sober themselves, and I mean, it's that's how people are when you're out there like that. people know it, and I'm guilty of that myself. Like, all you need to do is, you know, uh, but this, y'all weren't drinking, and you had been, you know, most of you had been far worse off than I had been, and there, so I really took to the program, and I started chairing meetings, and I made it through the steps, and I got 19 months of sobriety, and I was still like going to meetings and stuff. My sponsor had relapsed. I got another sponsor, and I just didn't really I didn't really talk to him much at all, and there was some stuff going on with me, and I didn't really tell anybody about it, and it wasn't really anything like. What it was like I thought that I should be farther along. I thought I should have some things because I'd been doing good, and my plan wasn't lining up with God's plan, and it was something that could have been solved like so easily, but I didn't. I just wasn't listening. I wasn't using the program correctly, and so at 19 months of sobriety, I relapsed, and I went home for Christmas, and I was like, I'm just gonna do a little bit, and I'll come back here and pretend like nothing happened, and even though history has shown me that once I put anything in my body, like I'm going until I'm, can't eat anymore, and whatever. I'm just gonna do just this, and then I'm gonna stop, and I don't know. Surprise, surprise! I couldn't stop, and I came back down here, and I kept on, and but it was just like it was so bad again, like in like a week. It was like I'm miserable again, and and this lasted like 2 months, man, and I was like, I remembered like I just want things to go back to like just the way they were before all this happened. Like I wanted to take it back, but it don't work that way. So I called some people at MAR, and they got me into another detox, DeKalb Crisis Center. I've never been to like a nice detox. Like I've never been to like a Sunrise or anything. But DeKalb Crisis is probably like out of the plethora of detoxes that I've been to, it's probably like the worst one. But they detoxed me. I got out of detox, and I relapsed again, and so finally like I got into like this sober living, and he's like, you gotta be sober when you get here, and I couldn't I went back to the DeKalb Crisis Center, and they said, dude, you just got out of here like 3 days ago. Like, no, you can't come back in here. So one of my friends who was sober let me crash on his couch for a few days, and I didn't use. It was hard, but I made it through, and got back into this sober living, and I got another sponsor, a guy that I'd always talked to at meetings, and I really liked, and like I still have the same sponsor today, and he's like, this is what I like. I could tell this guy anything, man, and he's done everything I've done like 5 times, and anyway, it's like important. I think it's important, especially early on, to find a sponsor that you really like and think that you can trust and understands. And that was this guy. And one of the biggest things he told, I would always say, everything's good, everything's fine. And one day he was like, look, man, like I ask you how you're doing, you tell me everything's good, everything's fine. I know it isn't. So like he's like, there's gonna come a time where something's gonna happen to you, and there's gonna be there's two solutions. One is like for you to drink, and the other is for you to just tell me what's going on. And then, sure enough, he was right. Something happened, and I called him and talked to him, and I'm big about beating around the bush. I go, hey man, what's going on? Oh no. And finally he's like, look dude, like what the fuck's going on, man? And I told him, and it's been like I've finally gotten better about just coming out with it. Like I'll meet him in person, I'll start beating around the bush. He's like, what's wrong? I can see it on your face. Just cut the bullshit. What's going on? And I got back into the steps, but that's like I don't know, like one of the biggest things for me is like I don't want to tell people a lot of stuff because I'm like I get embarrassed that this shouldn't be bothering me this way. Like this is embarrassing. I don't want to tell anybody this, but all you have to do is tell. Like most of the time, we all feel the same way about it anyway. Like yeah, it's embarrassing, but that's how you feel. It's whatever. And like just discussing this stuff with another alcoholic is like been one of the biggest tools for me being able to maintain sobriety. Like today, like I don't, I got a good job, like I got a place to live. I got an 18-month-old daughter. I'm a full-time dad right now. Like things aren't perfect. I'll tell you that. There's like some stuff going on but like life still happens. But I don't have to drink over this stuff. Like there's like this stuff would if I was still drinking and getting high like this, there's no way I could have handled any of this stuff before. And now like I'm capable of like with other people's help and with you guys and being able to come here, like I'm able to navigate life and not just be so crazy all the time and like not just like I don't know. Like my kid would have been in a foster home or something, like but like it doesn't have to be that way. Like things are okay, and like they ain't the way that I would like them to be, but that's not the way that the world works. And that was like a hard lesson for me to learn. Like why can't it just be like this? And because it can. That's the way it is. And God has different plans, and my sponsor tells me all the time, nothing happens in God's world by mistake. He's everything or he is nothing. And, I think that's mostly true. Or I believe that it's true today. I won't know till I die, I guess. Maybe not even then if there is a God or whatever, if it's helping us out. But I like to believe that today. And the biggest thing that AA and sobriety have given me is, when I was drinking and using, like I was pretty convinced that everything was going to end horribly bad, and it usually did. And now, no matter what happens, if I stay in here and I stay, with my prayers and talking to people, like everything's going to be okay. I know everything's going to be okay. It might not be the way that I want it to be, but it's going to be okay. It'll be fine. And it's like I just lived with this like looming sense of like catastrophe all the time, and now you know what, it'll be all right. So thank you all for letting me speak.
Thank you, Carl. I'm glad you lived through all that. And I love that hope springs eternal in here, does it, every day. Awesome. Thank you.